So we live in Bergen, which is basically, it's on the west coast of Norway. It's a small town. It's not a fashionable town. It's not the most trendiest place you're gonna go, but I think it's a quite cool place, really. There's 250,000 people, quite small, and we're surrounded by 7 mountains. Within 5 minutes, you can go from the city center, urban streets, to the top of the mountain. And the view is lovely, it's amazing, and not many cities have that.
We have around 2,400 to 3,000 millimeter of rain a year, and the second one on the list have 1,600 in Europe. It's a couple of years back we had a sum of 80 days of straight rain, for example. That's it's quite heavy every day, 80 days in a row.
My name is Michael, T. Michael, and I'm a designer. I'm a bespoke tailor. I'm a part owner of Norwegian Rain.
I'm Alexander Torgenes Helle, and I'm the creative director and manager of Norwegian Rain.
I started out as a tailor. I was young and I was very much interested in clothing. I was very interested in the cuts, very interested in the way things were built up. I was lucky enough to grow up in a household where we had 2 sewing machines. So at the age of 11, I was playing around with the sewing machine and knew what to do with it. Fast forward to about maybe 18, 19 years old, I was very interested in clothing, and it was very important for me to look good. I spent practically all the money I didn't have on clothing. It was a fun thing to do, but I wasn't really interested in making clothing. I was interested in clothing that was well made. And then I moved to Norway with my ex-wife. I pulled out a sewing machine, which I got from my ex-mother-in-law. I got it, I pulled it out, and realized very quickly that I had these hidden skills that I've forgotten about, you know? And then I enrolled into the tailoring school. It took me about a year to find out about it. Got into it about 2 years later, and I did it for 3 to 4 years. Fast forward to about maybe 10 years afterwards, the collection was growing. I was doing more of ready-to-wear and made-to-measure and less of bespoke.
I'm born and raised in Bergen, and that means that you're born, basically it's a life in the rain. You know, when it's pouring down, it gives a layer on your mood. So it was all about thinking about, okay, how can we change that into that, okay, I would love to put on something, or I don't need to check the weather because I'm independent of that weather. And that's when the whole ball started to roll with, okay, raincoats. Tried everything when you live in Bergen and never found anything that I think is suitable. And it's not one raincoat that would kind of fit the need. You need a range, and we're all different. And I started thinking about not just myself, but the rest of people living in harsh conditions. And yeah, that was the starting point of the whole idea that, okay, raincoats, this is actually my mission in life. Going back, it was 2007. After I got this mission, I would start thinking, okay, how can we actually succeed with something like that? You know, the world is turning more and more against the great giants out there, the big change. How can we, in a city so far from the fashion world, succeed and make a stand? So I was thinking that first of all, I needed like a tailor that can really understand the garment making, since I didn't have that. When Michael came into mind, because I've always been a big fan of him, it was quite clear that he's got what it takes. Because when I went into his shop, his old shop and studio, you know, it's a tailoring shop, but you also go in there and it's these strange things, you know. You It's a little sculpture, something that normal people would never put into like a tailoring shop. And it's not the most commercial thing to do, but damn, so refreshing. I thought that, okay, he's amazing in his tailoring, and he also got the different way of looking at things. That's a very good combination if we're gonna make something that has not been made yet. I went in there, student from a business school, asking him to join me to make a raincoat.
My antenna just goes up and I can hear plastic fabrics crackling. And I was like, no, I don't do raincoats. And then he left. I was very, I was very diplomatic with him. So I think because I was diplomatic, he probably thought he can come back again and ask again,
And then in a very nice way, he told me to leave. So, think about it. He didn't put me down and say it's a horrible idea. He said good luck and motivated me to continue, but it was not his world. And the way he rejected me made me even more sure that this is a good guy. He's gonna be the guy anyhow. But I knew that I had to have him on board. So I went in there for the third time, and it was really pouring a day. And he said, you just keep coming back, so let's sit down in the coffee shop across the street and talk this through.
And then my idea was to explain to Alex that I don't do plastics. From me wanting to tell him that I wouldn't do this, I ended up in what I normally do and trying to find a solution for something that we're talking about. Start talking about, okay, so we could do this, and then that will stop this from coming in, that will stop this. And then after about maybe 1 hour or so, we just realized that this is something we should be doing.
And we hit the tone and understood that despite all our contrasts, from backgrounds and schools and, everything, where we're from, and we had chemistry. There was something there that made a little spark. I would say that life in Bergen was a trigger. And meeting Michael was the thing that executed, bringing a simple idea into something with substance. We live close to nature. I'm used to everybody wearing these all-weather jackets on hiking in the forest, and at the same time I knew that all these have a lot of bad stuff in them. So it's like you make clothing to be close to nature, but in the clothing is something bad from nature. It's like something very wrong in that equation. We went to this fair and a lot of other places saying that we need the most waterproof fabric there is. It has to breathe more than anything we've tried before, and it has to be eco-friendly. We were kicked out of a lot of fabric booths because they thought we were rude. Like, you ask about impossible things. But we ended up with 3. We tested it in laboratories here, and 2 of them did not at all live up to those high standards. And it was one guy, one supplier left, Japanese. So we didn't look for Japanese, we looked for the best, and it was Japanese. We're big fans of how in Japan they have this respect for all things. And it starts even where they work. If they're working in a cheese shop or in a grocery shop or doing the streets, they do it proper, they do it with pride, and they go all in and care about what they're doing, and that kind of excels into, in the end, making products that is better than the rest of the world. But also, they have this contrast always between, you see Tokyo, for example, as like this noisy, crazy advertising street. And then you go into a side street and boom, it's all like, suddenly they went quiet and it's this garden that they spend an extra little time that, excites you. And this balance between these contrasts is something that we have inspired us as well. And that's very prominent in our work. In Bergen, you have the nature and the mountains crawling into the city streets. Me and Michael, quite different in it's all these contrasts, and it's all about finding the balance. And if we find that balance, we have something strong from both worlds.
I like things that are well made. And it's such that things that were made in the past were usually well made than things that are made now. So when I find a product, whether it's a camera or it's a boot or it's a jacket or a suit or a uniform, I like to open them up and to find jewels in them. But the small little things in it, the quirks you put in it, the way you cut one thing, the way you turn one thing, the way you baste, changes everything. Norwegian Rain, what we do is such that we live in the lab. You know, we live here and it rains 2 or 3 days. Everything we do has to be able to work in Bergen. So when we start building a jacket, I will cut it, I'll make a pattern just like any tailor would do. I will cut it out, we get the shape right, we get the form right, the movement. But that's where the raincoat starts from, because after that, then is actually trying to get it to get the form to work in the real life, get the functionality back into the piece again. So we will actually stand outside with buckets of water and chuck it on each other just to see how the water will fall, which ways the water will seep through the fabric, to be able to use that information to create a detail that would also be functional. Every detail in our coat has a function. If it's there, there's a reason for it. You know, we want to translate or transmit the idea that whatever you wear should be able to take you through the day, whether it rains or it doesn't. So come rain or shine, your coat should be able to take you through the day.
I think it's like a cliche, but I feel that I live this dream now. We're incredibly lucky to be able to live of something we love and are passionate about, and I found amazing people to work with. I hope that we can contribute in the world to make the world a greener place and a more sustainable place. People buying less, but buying things that they're really gonna wear and be happy about and love, you know. We want to create those pieces that people love, and you know, that you're really sad if it one time down the road it doesn't fit anymore. Or
we choose extremely careful who we do anything with, because our product is still at an early age. So we've had lots of requests to do things for other people, but we don't do that because we felt that they had nothing really bona fide to give us. So with BonneGueule, like I said, it's a different approach to clothing than most of the people that we meet.
Also, when we read a story about us some time back that the BonneGueule wrote, I remember that you know, it was one of the best written stories we read, because everybody's just saying the same thing, and here was one that was really interested. Yeah, the world is changing, and not many fashion companies are changing, but BonneGueule is one of them, so we're lucky, I think.
Pour moi, c'est vraiment une grosse étape d'avoir pu concevoir un produit main dans la main avec Team Michael et Alexander. C'est vraiment c'est une très très belle opportunité, parce que c'est une marque que j'ai suivie depuis sa création, donc il y a presque 10 ans. Et à l'époque, c'était peut-être l'un des tout premiers coups de cœur que j'ai eu pour une marque, en me disant il me faut absolument ce vêtement, c'est trop bien d'avoir cette approche très tailleur, très fonctionnelle et à la fois très technique. Et quasiment 10 ans plus tard, et ben, d'être là au QG de la marque, c'est fort. Hein. La signature de Norwegian Rain, c'est cette matière donc, qui est très performante. Elle est imperméable, déperlante et respirante. Et qui garde un aspect naturel. Donc il y a un léger chinage, il y a une texture, il y a quelque chose qui fait que ça se fond mais parfaitement avec une tenue de ville. Grâce à des petites gommettes thermosoudées à l'arrière des coutures du bouton, l'eau ne peut pas s'infiltrer par les fils. Il y a un serrage au niveau de la capuche qui fonctionne par un jeu de bouton pression. Et surtout, là où il a fait fort, c'est qu'en fait, quand la capuche est enlevée, on voit pas que normalement il y a un emplacement pour une capuche. À l'arrière de la capuche, il y a 2 lanières en cuir qui servent à rouler la capuche. Au niveau du menton, il y a un petit revêtement en cachemire qui apporte beaucoup de douceur et de confort. Il y a même un storm flap qui vous protège du vent ou qui empêche votre écharpe de s'humidifier quand il pleut. Pour moi, c'est incroyable et c'est cette excitation, ce rêve finalement de presque 10 ans que j'ai envie de ramener, de raconter.